Hi, I'm Matt from Ancestral Nutrition. I'm going to show you how I make beef tallow for free. So, I've got a Greenham's Cape Grim strip loin here. Some people know this as porterhouse. You've got your meat side and you've got a nice big layer of fat that runs all the way through here. So we're going to take this off and use that to make tallow. The beauty is most people throw this away, so that's why your tallow is going to be free. So first thing I'm going to do is, this particular cut of meat has a little bit of grizzle on the backside, so I'm just going to trim that off, and this is all personal preference. If you don't care about that, you can leave it on, but I like a nice
So you're just
tender...
trying to get the most fat off as possible?
Yeah, this stuff on the back is more, a little bit of it's fat and a little bit of it is the silver skin, which is that chewy stuff. So if you cook it on the steak, you get a bit of...
Never heard that before.
Yeah, that's see this sort of stuff in here and that.
Oh, yeah.
That's the bit that when you cook it, it gets a little bit tough. It's just a matter of trimming off that so that when you get your steak, it's not, hasn't got any chewy bits. So that's good enough for me. So next step is working out what size steak. So I like to go about a 300 gram-ish steak. So that's my rough number, about 300 grams. So this end piece is always less pretty than the rest, but I'm not like a butcher who trims it up and then wastes that end. We'll keep that. So what I'm going to do is just cut my steaks. So as you can see, once you've got the steaks, you've got this line of fat along here. I'll happily have that on a steak, but there's a lot of people who don't, and so they'll trim up their steak so it's nice and lean. And this fat line, that's basically, it's so easy to get off that you can literally tear it. You don't even need to cut it. That fat line is what normally goes in the bin. So by trimming that off and keeping that separate, and we'll do that for the whole lot, we then get our fat that we will prepare and get into the pot. So if you want to trim them up to get a nice clean steak with a little bit of fat, any trim that I take off, I'll keep set aside. You can either throw that in the slow cooker and make whatever dish you want, whether that be a curry. What's your favourite one, Stu?
Smoothie.
Smoothie. Porterhouse smoothie.
Porterhouse smoothie, I'd love to know about that.
This is way leaner than all the ones I've had at home, hey? I'm shocked at this. What do you use tallow for, Stu?
Tallow is a great replacement for high heat cooking because a lot of people use vegetable oil, but we don't like it.
The real reason you use tallow is for your skincare routine. What's your favourite essential oil to put in with your tallow to make your night cream?
Peppermint.
Peppermint night. Normally that section through there is the thickness you would have the whole length of the steak. Done at home have been way fattier. So see this though, this has got a less fat and more of a grizzle line. Remember that grizzle line I was talking about? So this one's quite lean, so it really, you know, that there is actually pretty much all grizzle.
What's your opinion on using scissors instead of knife?
I use them sometimes for certain things. I like them when I'm having my Korean barbecue. I love scissors then, but I prefer to cook when I'm cooking to do this. I might use scissors sometimes if I'm doing pork rind. Pork rind sometimes can be really difficult to cut for some reason, whereas scissors can get through that a little bit easier. But this is, I mean, this is quite soft. There are definitely more than one way to do this. So once you've got your fat, now it's time to, you could throw it straight in the pot if you wanted to and just start cooking it down. However, my favourite thing out of this is the tallow croutons you get at the end. So in order to get nice tallow croutons, I like to cube up the fat so that when it cooks down, I get a nice little crispy crouton. So this is an optional step, but one that I think gives you the best little, I call it a beer snack, that you'll ever have in the world. So this is the part where you're getting the tallow from. It's all going to come out of these bits of fat, as you can see. You saw that I had a whole a cut of meat there, so I've got a whole lot at once. If you're just buying a few steaks a week, you can easily just trim off the fat, throw it in the freezer, and accumulate that in a bag or in a pot. And then once you've got enough, go in and make your tallow. So you don't have to buy a big piece of meat just to get the fat. You can easily accumulate this and throw it in the freezer. So next up, we're going to throw it onto a low heat to let the fat cook out. So I've chosen to put in a little bit of water in the pan. That just helps it not to stick initially. If you put the fat straight in the pan, it can often stick. You got to scrape it off. So I find it's just a little bit easier to have some water in there to get that going. So basically what's going to happen here is we'll just let that gently cook. So in order to get to the finished product, we'll probably take about half an hour. So we'll keep an eye on that and we'll show you the progress. So as far as these steaks go, if you want to trim them up to give you a nicer looking porterhouse steak, I usually will look at taking this little bit of tail off because it's a mixture of fat and there's not much meat in there, and sometimes you get a little bit of chewiness as well, so that can easily come off. This is our trim bucket, and so all of this we can throw into any type of slow cook dish. My preference is actually to mince it rather than use the slow cooker. Homemade mince is one of my favourites. So I've just got a Kenwood cake mixer that my wife uses, and it's got a mincing attachment that she got from her grandmother, and it must be best part of 50 years old as a mincer. So that's how we mince our meat, so nothing fancy. You can increase the heat. It can take a little bit. Also, if you send the temperature too hot, eventually you'll start to burn the bits of fat, and that burnt fat will put more of a flavour in it. So as you want to make something that maybe is sweet, or maybe a skincare product, a cream, a moisturiser, you can have more of that beefy taste. So the lower the temperature, usually the less of that flavour that you've got. As the fat cooks out of the tallow cooks out of those fat pieces, it'll start to deep fry itself. So that's when you can really turn the temperature down and let it slowly crisp up our tallow. If you were to put this on super high and just try to do this in 10 minutes, you'll really burn the fat, and you'll have a really strong beef flavour in your tallow. Still a little bit of water there, so we're definitely not sticking at the moment. I think that's the end of the water almost. If you want any evidence that that Cape Grim is grass-fed, there's your evidence.
How long do you wait until you sort of get the oil out?
Look, if you weren't interested in having some crispy croutons, you could say that's enough. There's only probably a little bit more left. My preference is to get a little bit of crisp on the crouton because I really like eating them. So I'm just going to go a little bit longer just to get a little bit more crisp. That's purely personal preference. As you can see in there, if you wanted to tip that out, right, there's already quite a bit of tallow. So there's no requirement to go any longer if you don't want to.
Just to clarify, the tallow is the oil. That's what we're extracting, right?
Yeah. So as you can see, I'll get some on the spoon here. So you can see there. So that's the fat that's come out of the tallow that's come out of the pieces of fat, and it's leaving behind the membrane that holds the fat. So all the connective tissue, my assumption is there's bits of collagen and other things in there. If I equate it to the human side of things, I think cellulite is this connective tissue that's holding on, and that's what causes that cellulite shape in the fat. And so this is that connective tissue. I don't know if this is super necessary, but it's a little hack that I like to do at home. I just grab the potato masher and I just squash the bits of fat just to help start to force all that fat out of the, I call them my croutons. So it definitely helps, I think. You can see there now we're starting to get a good little bit of tallow. Just scrape them off because I stuck them down. And as you can see, they're now starting to deep fry in their own fat. You see the fat rendering out, and all these pieces of fat are getting smaller as the fat comes out. So it's still got a way to go. You can see there's still a lot of fat in there. Okay, so as you can see in here now, I've got plenty of colour, even though it's at a low heat, and I don't really want to go any more because I don't want to flavour the tallow. So I'm going to turn that off and I'm going to use my potato masher to take out the croutons. Drain a bit of that tallow and then onto a paper towel on a plate. So of course the croutons is completely optional, but it's my favourite part and the reason I make it most. So I've nearly got all of this. A bit of salt here. These things love salt, the most important part. I might even go double that amount of salt, to be honest. So I'm going to sit them aside and let them cool a bit. And the next step is we're going to drain our tallow. So as you can see in here now, we've got that liquid fat. There's a few little croutons there, but that's all right, we'll pick them out. So essentially we can just tip that in. And all of the little bits of the connective tissue and stuff that are still in there, they'll stay down the bottom. As you can see, you've got nice, clean, clear tallow fat coming out. And then I'll just pick out those couple of little croutons. And there you have beautiful, clear beef tallow that was free, didn't cost us anything. So here's one that we made earlier. So once you put this in the fridge and get it to cool down, you'll end up with a white coloured fat, and so that's hard, and you can just scoop when you need to. You can just scoop in, and I'll throw that into any dish that I wanted to make. So if I'm going to roast some veggies, potatoes or whatever, I'll put that in, cover that, and have the best chips and best veggies you've ever had in your life.
I'm really interested about the flavour of these.
Okay, so
I don't believe that you eat that.
you don't believe it? Well, I want more salt. So think of anything like the salted nuts at the pub, right? They're salty, and that's what this is. So you're having a real... It's exactly that. This is, we'll call it beef scratching if that's what you want to call it. So yeah, that you can sort of hear them nice and crispy, and so yeah, you just end up with a nice little crispy, salty snack. But I don't know, do with them what you will. Have a beer with them, have a scotch with them, whatever suits you. So this is going to be lunch. So we're going to have a team cook up today. So we'll probably go through most of that steak today. These leftovers, we will either cut into smaller pieces and we'll throw it into a slow cooker and do a dish. So we might bring you something with that. Or I might even go and bring the 50-year-old mincer in and show you how we'll turn that into mince.